I have dedicated my professional career to the study and control of arthropods.
Hello. Today I'm going to do a rambling rant about something I've been thinking about a lot lately, which has to do with the male sex and usefulness in society or usefulness in your personal life. Something I've been kind of thinking about. I want to make it clear this is not scientific. I'm not making some scientific statement here. What I'm doing is I'm expressing some things that I've thought about. These are notions, opinions, okay, whatever. So it could be completely full of crap. Understand that. So, what's sort of, I guess, in thinking about this, is I believe that men, and I'm not saying this as in men opposed to women. I'm saying, as in men have it, women don't. I'm just saying what I think men have, is a need to be useful, in that a need to have a purpose, a need to, whether it be in your society or in grand schemes, or whether it be just in your own personal life, in your family, in your day-to-day existence, a need to be good for something. Remember the great insult, if those of you my generation, I don't know if it's still used or not, but in my generation, the big insult your dad would throw at you is, "You're good for nothing," that sort of as an insult. You were, terrified of not being useful. That was sort of the big thing. And I think some of those definitions have changed. But there's still a need to be useful. And I think that this is what is in part a lot of the cause of chauvinism, at least in the past, has been because so many, at one point in time in American history, reasonably recent American history, a guy who did nothing in his family outside of getting up, going to work at the factory, getting off work, having a few beers with friends, going home, was doing his part, meaning that was his definition of being useful. And that was it, meaning that if nothing else was going on, if he did nothing else, and somebody complained about it, he would have the sympathetic ear of his peers and family and such like that. I work 8 hours a day. What do you expect me to do? And now that's changed. Now women work as much as men, more often than not. And men are expected to, most of the guys I know, cook, help with the dishes, help with laundry. I mean, the chores are split. Maybe it's not equal. I'm not saying society's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There's still a lot of inequality. But we've come a long ways, and it's expected. So now for a man to be useful, it's more complex than it was maybe in the 50s ideal of what a man being useful is. But what I was hoping to get to, what I want to talk about today, is the concept of the useless male. And I want to make sure that I define this well, because it's potentially, I don't want to sound like, I am going to sound like a judgmental prick. And maybe I am a judgmental prick in certain areas. But you've got, when I talk about a useless male, okay, I'm talking about, I see these guys, and I'm sure every one of you know this guy. This guy, okay, is, maybe, mid-30s, 40, maybe younger, maybe older. Their whole adult life has been living off of other people. Maybe strings of girlfriends or wives that they've lived off of. They often have delusions, the guy that's like 35 and, is someday going to be a rock star still. All their friends might be high school kids or just out of high school kids, because that's the only people that can stand to be around them. They've never had a job. They've never, or at least never held a job for any more than the first paycheck or first couple of paychecks. And then they lose it and go on, and they usually have an excuse about their boss was a prick, or there's always something like that. These guys, and every neighborhood has one, they're out there, okay? And I've often wondered with these guys, do they lack this need for usefulness? Are they, is there something wrong with them where they actually don't care? Or do they do care? And that's why a lot of times associated with it, the guys are either heavy potheads or they drink, these kinds of things. But although it's a chicken and the egg scenario, do they get high or get wasted constantly because they can't stand the way they are, or are they like they are because they get stoned and wasted constantly? So you can't really make that. I personally don't think it's drugs or alcohol. I don't like people that make excuses blaming their problems on drugs or alcohol for a number of reasons. I believe that people are who they are. Certainly, drugs and alcohol make it easier to become a loser, but if you're a loser, you're a loser. Because you see these guys, when they go through sober periods, for whatever reason, sometimes they find religion for a short period of time, or whatever it is, they are on the straight and narrow, and they're still just as much of a loser as when they were high. But what I wonder is, okay, so I know these guys. I know, you see them, and you go to high school with these guys, and they're kind of losers in high school too. But they throw the keggers or they do something like that. Then you graduate high school and they're still kind of hanging out with the next younger generation, and you kind of shake your head at it, and then you come back 10 years later and there they are, and you're like, you haven't changed a bit, and they're like, and you see it, they just sort of evolve into this person, and you wonder, is it a conscious evolution? I mean, they often claim to have these lofty goals in life, and I think a lot about it because I wonder what I can't comprehend their motivation. I can't, or their lack of motivation. Is it laziness? True laziness? Is there a laziness wherein you recognize a suboptimal situation in your life and you look at the steps needed to remedy that, and it's too hard, so you won't even take the most basic steps? And I hate to use the word lazy for that because I'm lazy. I'm a lazy bastard, believe me. There's things I need to get done that I'm just not getting done. I'm making YouTube videos instead. Things like that. But there's a point, there's sort of taking care of covering my bases, covering what I need to do that I couldn't even imagine letting slip. And not only to let that slip, but to let it slip to the point of where you're basically an overgrown teenager living off of other people. Some of them, I even know guys that live with their parents, or at least lived with their parents until their parents passed away, and then I don't know what they'd done. I don't keep up, and I'd like to know what it is, if what these guys are, what they're doing. One of the things I've noticed with them, a pattern I've seen with these guys, is they often are, and I think it might be a mental disorder, but I think they're hobby driven. Like they go from one big hobby. Like one day they're going to breed and raise tropical fish, and so they collect everything there is to collect. They spend all their money on this hobby. And then next time they're going to buy and sell and trade rare coins. They go to these weird hobbies that are just going to come out of nowhere that consumes their entire life. And then they go on to the next thing that consumes their entire life, sometimes for months. And then they go to the next thing, and they go to the next thing. And in the meantime, they're, living off of other people. Their money is not their own. They're often, and I could never, the problem I have is I could never comprehend it. How can you wake up and look at yourself in the mirror and say, my purpose in life is to get wasted on my girlfriend's welfare check. That's my purpose in life. That's, things to do today. I would think you'd freaking take the route out and blow your brains out, I would think. I mean, I couldn't even comprehend living like that. The fear of living like that is what I guess gets me up in the morning to do jobs that I can't stand, I suppose, or to do things I don't want to do. But some people seem to be, I guess the question I have is, they seem to be happy and content living that life. They seem to be, that's good enough for them. And I don't quite understand it. So this is just my rants on these guys, and I'm not going to go into the details as to why. There is a specific reason why I'm discussing this, but I'm not going to get into that. So anyway, thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.